Mortgagee sales surge. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because, well, I thought we'd have to have a look at this article. It's discussing mortgagee sales in Australia and how they've recently risen, particularly when we had all the mortgage holidays and pretty much no one was forced to sell. So I thought, oh boy, this is big news. Why isn't it getting more attention? And well, then I looked at the article. The number of Australians distress selling their homes has recently increased. However, long-term figures show the rate of mortgagee sales is still much lower than the volume taken to market during the crunch period of the pandemic. So, Ray White Group data shows the number of national mortgagee sales kicked up in the 3 months to July as interest rates finally rose. The removal of mortgage repayment freezes during COVID-19, which created some cushioning by the bank, is also being felt by homeowners. Distressed listings hit a peak of more than 250 properties in October 2021, but then steadily dropped over 6 months to about April this year, Ray White found. Okay, 250 properties. So let's have a look over here. The latest ABS data is we've got about 10.8 million residences or dwellings in Australia. Now, if we look at what percentage 250 is, that's 0%. Well, no, it has to be something. So we'll move the decimal place, just like I'm teaching my daughter in maths. Keep moving it. Oh, there we go. We got a number. So 0.002315% of properties in Australia are distress sales. That's, well, frankly, I'm sure it's stressful to the people involved, but that it's not a significant amount. That's the peak, guys. That's the peak. So if you're hoping for a big property crash, because what we've got ANZ talking about a 20% fall. Sure, a 20% fall from a peak brings it down just to normal insane growth, not insane growth. If you're sitting there on the sidelines waiting for a big correction in property, I mean, this isn't showing a sign. These numbers aren't showing us that there's a big correction on the way. It's gone down from this too. So, to ascertain the rate of mortgagee sales, Ray White research team identified listings on Domain and other advertised portals which featured the word mortgagee, tracing back to the start of 2020. So they just did a data search on mortgagees. So it may be more. It may be more. I wonder if people would lie about it to get people in. Right now, we've seen a pickup in mortgagee sales. However, at this point, they remain below what we've seen throughout the pandemic. Ray White, senior economist, Nerida Knisby, wrote in her weekly property economics report. In Australia, with interest rates increasing, the cost of living rising, and particularly high debt levels, there's been a lot of discussion around mortgage stress. And well, let's bring up this definition. Let me just get my data sources correct here. Yep. We'll have a look at this, the definition of housing stress, guys. There we have it. So it's typically, and housing stress, it can relate to mortgage stress too, is typically described as lower income households that spend more than 30% of their gross income on housing costs. Okay? Gross or gross? Well, both are the same. So, and this is an ABS definition from the Bureau of Statistics. So remember this, low income households that spend more than 30%. So if you're not a low income household, what's your definition of mortgage stress? Do you think someone who's earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and spending, 35% of their income on their house is going to be under mortgage stress? Or someone who's earning 40 grand a year and is spending 30% or 33% on their mortgage or their rent would be under more housing stress? So we need to keep that in mind. I don't think it's as dramatic and bad as everyone thinks. I think a lot of Australians need to learn how to budget. And we're gonna. We're tough people. Just had it good for a long time. The ultimate outcome of mortgage stress is being unable to pay a loan and the property becoming a mortgagee sale. The number started lifting from March 2020, driven by a recession at the time, but the situation was mitigated by repayment honeymoon periods for mortgagee or mortgage holders. So the number of mortgagee sales, however, didn't increase as much as they could have during this time, given the banks offered 6 months mortgage payment freezes at the end of March 2020, she said. The rate of mortgagee sales slipped at the end of 2020 and 2021 as market conditions got better, including forces such as supply rising to meet strong demand, and the short recession ended, the figure shows. Not surprisingly, the biggest increase we saw over this time period was when mortgage payment freezes came to an end in March 2021, Ms. Kniesby said. Despite a red-hot property market and an economy that was getting back to normal, the number was elevated because borrowers who were in mortgage stress were helped through the freeze on payments. Right now, we've seen a pickup in mortgagee sales. However, at this point, they remain below what we've seen throughout the pandemic. It also highlights how important the support of banks is when it comes to helping people through mortgage stress. Ms. Kniesby said mortgage holders now will be braced by low unemployment, the fact the banks are well capitalised, and that savings have been at high levels, with Aussies tucking away rainy day money during COVID-19. Customer data by the National Australia Bank has also found that Aussies kept up their repayments during the period of super low interest rates and so are ahead of their mortgages. Andrew Kerr, the National Australia Bank's executive of home ownership, told Nine earlier this month that most household loan customers do not borrow to their maximum. And, well, I'm not surprised. Hopefully most people are sensible. Or the fact that, you've seen insane equity growth, so you could borrow much more than your maximum. It is a single-digit percentage customer who borrows at capacity, remembering that capacity includes the 3% buffer, he said. And what is really fascinating is that over the last 5 years, possibly longer, the number of people who borrow at capacity has not really changed. Even as house prices have been going up, we have not seen customers getting to their capacity. What surprises me is how steady it has been. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? That's really interesting. So let's have a talk about this. So, there you go, guys. Mortgagee sales are up, or at least the use of the term in domain data has increased. But it's still a statistically insignificant amount of households or houses that are changing hands through to this process. You'd be hard-pressed building a property empire just going after mortgagee sales here in Australia if it's reaching a peak at 250 in the whole country. That's nothing. Should we be worried about this? Is this the beginning of an impending property collapse and it's all going to crash down? I can't see it, guys. I really can't. I think it's a bit of a fear. It gets the views and eyeballs. It got me interested. I wanted to see this article. I wanted to see how high they were getting. But when we look at it in the bigger picture, I don't know if it's that significant. I mean, not to downplay the struggle that some people will be going through, some through no fault of their own. Not everyone who's forced to sell or has to sell is going to be some idiot that bought 15 properties interest only with a Macca's job and is suddenly collapsing. It's often going to be people that just fall on hard times. And I think a lot of them is due to relationship breakdowns too. It's not fun. So anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Do you think this is something we should worry about? Is this number even significant enough to talk about? As always, thanks for watching. Check out my other channels, HeiseBim and HeiseSays International. HeiseBim, I discuss different tools, products, and free software I use as an architect. And HeiseSays International, I discuss international news. If you want to support the channel, you can financially via YouTube or Patreon, using our referral links, buying our pocket squares, or calling us if you need an architect. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode of Heise Says. 250. It's a lot less than I thought. It's a lot less than I thought.